We treat design like a final coat of polish, a layer of aesthetics applied right before a product hits the shelf to make it look finished. But mass production is a rigid environment. You cannot take an abstract feeling or a brand vibe and send it down a global supply chain. A factory requires exactitude. It executes against mathematical specifications, hard tolerances, and specific geometries that leave no room for interpretation. When a company realizes late in the process that a product lacks identity, they try to add it. But attempting to force a feeling into thousands of pounds of locked-in steel tooling is a structural failure and a massive waste of capital. The success or failure of any object is decided during the initial concept phase. Every critical decision is locked in before the first prototype is ever built. This law governs even the smallest components. There are invisible standards at a microscopic level that quietly dictate whether a complex product functions at all. The depth of a pocket, the angle of a chamfer, or the physical grip of a rubber seal are not aesthetic choices. They are geometric requirements that must be resolved at the very beginning. Even a specific color standard must be translated into numeric specifications on day one. If that data isn't in the original spec, the final product will never match the designer's intent. At this scale, design intent is a mathematical baseline. It is a foundation that cannot be adjusted once the machines start turning. This requirement for early resolution scales up from small parts to global supply chains. Look at the standards emerging from Copenhagen Fashion Week. In this system, sustainability is the price of admission. The ethical footprint is locked into the fabric choice and the waste profile of the cut. These are physical specifications, not marketing labels. We see the same logic in Monaco, where the marine architecture industry handles projects on a massive scale. The low, horizon-hugging silhouette of a modern superyacht is a product of naval engineering. That profile is locked into the hull design long before anyone chooses a single interior surface. From the runway to the harbor, structural intent is a one-way street. You cannot go back and add integrity to a supply chain or a hull once the materials are committed. We can track the lifespan of a resolved concept by looking at the automotive world. Consider the 75th Concourse at Pebble Beach. The cars that still look right 70 years later do so because their proportion and stance were resolved in the first sketches. They rely on core geometry rather than surface decoration. This historical longevity contrasts sharply with the speed of the modern market, particularly in Chengdu. China has set a new benchmark for execution by protecting the concept phase. They move faster because the original intent is shielded from the corporate meetings that usually dilute a design. Whether the goal is to last for a century or to hit the modern market in record time, the requirement is the same: an impenetrable, highly resolved initial concept. To see how a strong concept handles growth, our studio ran an exercise called Power Tools of Tomorrow, testing the systems behind brands like Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Stanley Fatmax. We stripped these brands down to their core logic. We mapped the specific design rules that dictate how their tools feel and function, separating the brand's identity from its existing hardware. When core logic is resolved, generating standard lines is straightforward. The system naturally produces forms that look like the brand. This allows movement into entirely new categories, providing the blueprint for autonomous job site stations or self-driving tool chests, carrying the identity into the future. A foundational brand system decided up front can scale infinitely. A system built on surface decoration cannot. Across every domain, Barul is absolute. You must make the difficult decisions early and protect the original intent with everything you have. Generative models are designed to surprise us with novelty, but professional design requires the opposite: a commitment to consistency and a refusal to drift. If you don't resolve the core problem in the first sketch, you're setting yourself up for a production cycle fighting to fix a broken foundation. Conceptual decisions are as cheap as a drawing, but once you move into physical tooling, the reality of manufacturing is brutal, expensive, and completely unforgiving.